Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the June Keys Penguin Habitat. My name's Michelle. I'm joined today with Dana, as well as our 20 Magellanic penguins. Now, a popular question that's often asked of us is why do we feed our penguins and keep track of it? Because that is actually what Dana is doing. She is actually tallying how much each penguin is getting. And the reason why we do this is we want to make sure that we know when the penguins are eating, how much they're eating. Because if for some reason there's a day that or two that goes by that all of a sudden they're not eating, we need to take note of that and be able to go to our veterinarian to be able to say, hey, penguin X is not eating. We would love you to come in and take a look at this penguin, because normally one of the first things that will happen with animals is that they will go off feed. Avery got a herring. And Avery got another herring. Now, the reason why I wait to go on microphone is because that's what you would be hearing a lot of. And if you were here at the very beginning of my feeding, you saw that I had about 20 penguins inundating me with a bucket, and you would have heard me tell Dana each penguin's name and what they were eating. And so it doesn't make for good microphone talk for the guests. So what I do is I wait until I'm pretty much almost done with everyone, and then I get on microphone. Now, one of the things about wild animals that a lot of people don't realize is that they do not show when they are not feeling well until it's too late. And so, like I said before, we utilize things like them eating, how much they're eating, so we can keep track of it. Because if all of a sudden a bird that is the size of Ludwig, he's weighing in at about 6-7 kilos, if all of a sudden he goes off food, that tells me something. And I want to make sure that I head that off very quickly. If he's not feeling well, we can easily take a blood sample on our animals and be able to check their CBCs, make sure that they don't have an elevated white blood cell count, or if something's off with their blood values. That's something that we can tell very easily. Come on up, buddy. Ludwig got a herring. And now, a lot of times people wonder what it's like feeding penguins. Raise your hand if you ever had a 3-year-old. It's like 23-year-old. So you can just imagine what it's like. Just think about when the 3-year-old spits out its peas, carrots, broccoli in your face. That's what they do with my herring sometimes. They'll go ahead and toss it in right back at me. Each penguin has its own unique way of eating. Some penguins like the herring facing to the right. Some penguins like the herring facing to the left. Some penguins don't even like herring. They'll only eat capelin. So what it's our job to do is recognize who's coming up to our bucket, how they like their food given to them, and make sure that we're doing it that way. So we have 20 very spoiled penguins who eat very well. If you notice, their girth is quite stable. Yeah. We always joke that when other people come over to see our penguins, they go, they look so healthy. And we're, yes, that's how we like our penguins, big and healthy. Now, one of the things that we do monitor is their weight. We take their weights pretty much twice a month. This way we can see if they're gaining weight a lot, if they're maintaining, or if they're losing. We're getting into the time of year where they're going to be gaining a ton of weight because they're getting ready for their molt. Now, if you've ever seen a penguin molt, it's what's known as a catastrophic or explosive molt. They lose all their feathers at once. So they will bulk up, they will swell, and it's almost like somebody blows really hard on the penguin and all the feathers come off at once. And you will have an exhibit full of penguin feathers. Luckily, all 20 of our penguins do not molt at the same time, because that would be quite sad and very hard to clean up. Usually it starts with the youngest, and the youngest is actually who's right in front of me. This is Gats. Now, Gats, you're turning your back away so they can't see your chest. Can you turn around for me? Turn, turn, turn. There we go. Now, if you notice Gats's chest, he does not have that double black band. Now, that's indicative of a juvenile penguin. Those double black bands mean that they're adults, or at least 2 years old, and so they are going into their adulthood. Gats was a baby last year, and he is now getting ready to go through his molt. So you'll notice that his feathers look a little crusty. They look a little brownish, and that's normal for penguins getting ready to molt, because those old feathers, it's literally the body shutting down to those feathers. So those feathers will go off their bodies, and they will be left with their downy underneath feathers. Now this looks like it's not feeling all that great, and the penguins do get into a bit of a naughty mood when this happens, because losing all your feathers, I can just imagine what I would feel like. And the penguins really like to just hang out up on deck for about 2 weeks while their new feathers grow in. Now, we do spoil our penguins, like I said before, so we actually have mister systems set up so that they don't have to get into the water, but it can still remain cool. We have a lovely shade structure as well as those misters, so they can be up on deck and not be too miserable losing all their outer feathers. Now, where these animals are from, South America, the coast of South America, it can get quite warm. Luckily, the water temperature right off that coast is quite cool. It's around 55 degrees, and that's what we have here. But like I said, with the misters on, it will bring a day that is in the 90s or 100s down to about 80 on deck, and so the penguins are quite comfortable. But one of the things we do check is we look at the respirations, we look at their body, how much heat are they giving off, and we can kind of mitigate those issues. Sometimes if we think a penguin's not feeling all that great, we'll take them into our back holding area where it's a little bit cooler, and we still have a back holding pool back there as well. Now, the food that they receive is restaurant quality, so if you wanted to eat what's in my bucket, you could. It's herring and capelin. It's not my favorite, but if you like it, more power to you. We also do some enrichment, so we can give them things like toys, or we can give them Jell-O, different things to play with, and they like that as well. Hi. Now, some penguins do have an affinity for us. This is Admiral Fancy Pants. He's one of our favorites from the group, and you'll notice that he's actually getting ready for molting as well. You can see the back of his feathers. They're starting to look a little worn. It looks a little fuzzy. That's telling me that he's getting ready to molt. Now, one of the things that we always like to do is develop a strong relationship with our animals. So when we have our chicks, we allow the parents to raise them to about 20 days old. At 20 days, the animals start to figure out, hey, there's something on the other side of that tube. And if you look right behind me, this is a nest box. Inside that tube is what we call our penguin condo, and that's where the babies stay. Well, babies around 20, 25 days old start to get a little curious, and they'll start walking out of those tubes, and that can be dangerous for them. So what we do is we pull those chicks and put them into our chick nursery. Now, if you want to see what a chick nursery looks like, go to explore.org. We actually have a camera on our chicks 24/7 where you can actually see how they grow up. And we have some penguinistas, hi everybody, that literally watch these animals every day. They look at the exhibit animals as well as our baby penguins, and they can tell you how quickly they had grown from little 70 grams to well over 4 kilograms of where they're at right now. And just probably a couple of weeks, we're going to start giving them their little trips out to our main exhibit. We have to be careful because of the temperature, so we do it in a small approximations. We make sure that we don't inundate our penguins and make sure that they don't get too hot too quickly. You want another one? Gat's got a herring. And another herring. What are we up to for him? So, as I was saying, when they get ready to molt, they'll eat a whole lot more. This penguin normally eats around 4 to 5 herring. Today he's had 9 herring. So we know that he is getting ready to go into that molt phase of his existence. And he will get a little ornery when that happens. So we'll just kind of bear with him, make sure that we try to keep him as comfortable as possible and allow him to do what he normally does. But just think of it, a penguin that has never gone through this molt before, all of a sudden, all of his feathers leave his body. I can just imagine what's going through his mind. Well, at this point, we're going to go ahead and sign off. I'd like to say thank you all for coming to the aquarium, because your admission does help us take care of all of our animals. So for myself, Dana, and the 20 penguins here at the June Keys Penguin Habitat, we hope you enjoy your day here, and we hope to see you again real soon.